This is Richard Kuhns, author of How to Get Your Life Back. This is our Sunday call. This is our segment that we have a lot of fun with. We're going to do stress management, and we're going to do resiliency and what you need to do to be resilient. We have our resident nurse with us, Margie, who's going to take over the program and run with it, and she's going to give us a belly laugh later because laughing is a good part of recovery as well. It's all yours, Margie.
Good evening, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here with Richard Kuhns and all my fellow healers. And I do have a degree in nursing, but that is not my role here at all. In fact, most of my training has been in stress management and mind-body medicine. And I'm here to share the qualities of resiliency. So every week I come here to talk about one quality that helps us to become more resilient. And I talk about the fact that as humans, we need resistance in order to grow. So we see young children, little tiny children who are learning how to walk, and how hard it is for them to get up and take a step and then fall down again and get up and take a step. And there's a whole development stage they have to really work at and push through. And that is a wonderful reminder for me that when we go through hard times, it is an opportunity to grow. And it's hard to think about this because I'm one of you, so I know the nightmare that some of you are going through. And I'm not making light of it. And when I first got sick, I abandoned where I was living, threw away most of my belongings, and I went to a new place, and of course I brought it with me. And I ended up using my neighbor's meditation room, and it was in the middle of the winter. On snowy nights, I would be carrying my bedding down to their house to sleep on their floor because I didn't know what the hell was going on. I thought I was losing my mind, and there were no answers. And Richard was the first place that I went to for help. And I knew that I couldn't do it. I knew I needed information, and I needed to have some directions to follow and to be able to get better. And I'm a stubborn person. I hate taking directions. I always think I know better than other people. So it's taken me a while to get better because I have to. I found out what works for me and what didn't work for me. So tonight, what I talk about here are the qualities of resiliency. And tonight, the quality of resiliency we're going to speak about is finding a role model and how people who are resilient and who meet their goals and that they're able to more importantly, fail and get back up again, often have role models. They often use role models. And there is a coaching system in Richard's organization. And of course, you want to pick someone that has what you want. And not only have they found recovery physically, but they have the attitude that you like being around. Like attracts like. So I know for me, I love being around a positive person. I love being around someone who really is sort of on the upswing, not on the downswing. And in mind-body medicine, I learned that attitudes are contagious. So while you're healing, it's enough biopsychosocial, spiritual burden to have this illness. You do not want to be around negative. So make sure that when you coach, you pick someone who's upbeat and you don't want to be around a whiner because it's contagious and it can affect your feelings. So you don't want to feel exhausted when you get off the phone because the person is so negative. So just keep that in mind when you're choosing a coach. And also, in general, when you are out in the world, draw yourself to positive people and listen to positive shows and programs. And someone starts whining and getting into the list of all the negativity, just slightly back yourself out. So I'm going to talk about some of the people in history. So here's the personal role model, and I'm sure you will have people in your life that you just admire so much. They're usually very upbeat people who are loving and maybe can make fun of themselves a little bit, personable kind of people. And so we're attracted to that. And when you're around them, you feel good. Well, that's not just psychological, that's biological. When you're around people that make you laugh and smile, you feel good. And that's physical. That stimulates your antibodies. That stimulates your brain chemistry. So make sure that you get a dose of that every day. And if you're in a negative home environment, until you're able to get yourself out of there, go on YouTube and pull up your favorite person that makes you feel, opens your heart, because that's a very important thing for us to be aware of when we're healing. So I'm going to go over, and so there's other kind of role models that are sort of icons and people you can keep in your mind, and it's kind of great because they're not people you have a relationship with, so you don't see their belly side, you don't see their negativity. And I'll tell you who got me through my first couple of years with this illness. There's a little statue of Winston Churchill. I love Winston Churchill. I'm starting to look like him more and more as I get older. But I love him so much. And one of the things he said and I love the whole story of the Greatest Generation, and my mother was a nurse in England and took care of blind soldiers. So it's an attachment to my heart. But I loved Winston Churchill and what the British did to win that war. They had so much horror, so much courage in their core. And they didn't give up. And I have this little sign, and I know you're not going to read it because it's backwards, but it says, never, never, never give up, Winston Churchill. And so he's one of my role models. When I want to become discouraged and I want to take the easier, softer way rather than do the hard thing that I really don't want to do, but I'm going to do it, that's one of the things I do. I can think of Winston Churchill and not give up and keep moving forward. And I say this saying a lot here, if you don't know what God's will is, then pray and journal. If you do know what God's will is and you can't do it, you won't do it, you're not willing to do it, the thing you need is support. You need God with skin on. You need to call someone up and say, I know I need to take this action. I'm so exhausted. It's the last thing I want to do right now. And tell that person what you want to do. And there's something you can do called bookending. And that is, you can call them and say, I'm going to bookend this action. I'm going to call you, and you call the person, and you say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to call you when I'm finished. I'm going to go do this really hard thing, and when I'm done, I'm going to call you and bookend it. So that's another way of gaining support, and it's not a role model, but it's using social support to do hard things. We have to do a lot of hard things to get better, and sometimes all at the same time. So I'm going to go into some other characters in history that you might want to borrow as your role model, and I think it's kind of fun to look at this. So the first one is Thomas Edison. Of course, he discovered the light bulb, and he's famous for his failures, actually. So he failed 1,000 times before he discovered electricity. And someone said to him, "You failed 1,000 times." He said, "No, I found no, it was 10,000 times." He said, "No, I found 10,000 ways that it didn't work," and that's resiliency. That's reframing things. So every time you try something here and it doesn't work, try to just give yourself credit and say, "Well, I tried. I tried. And I'm going to find something that does work and just keep moving forward." So that's the Thomas Edison, and Thomas Edison's a great role model for that. And also, he was berated as a little child because his mind wandered in class, which is funny because a lot of us with ADD, I have ADD, you know, some of us are such creative thinkers, and we're berated for it. So he was brilliant, of course. And then another person I have here was, I'll just go through these, Elvis Presley. So he failed music class when he was a child. He was a social misfit. His first gig, they kind of booed him off the stage, and he was told he couldn't sing. That's Elvis Presley. So I think he showed us wrong there. He did not give up. Michael Jordan, he was cut from the high school basketball team, and his quote is that he missed 9,000 shots. 9,000 shots in his career he missed, and he said, "That's why I succeeded." Those 9,000, because he missed 9,000. That's why he succeeded. He kept trying. Stephen King, who I love as a human being. I mean, he lives in Vermont in an obscure town. He's been married to the same woman for 40 years. How many people with his notoriety make those kind of choices? So he wrote hundreds of stories and kept sending them in, and kept getting rejected over and over and over again. And his wife, and then he wrote Carrie. And he sent Carrie in, and they rejected him. And his wife pretty much, strong-armed him to send it again. He did, and the rest was history. So no wonder he was still married to that wonderful woman. So he had hundreds of failures before that. And let's see, who's my next person? Fred Astaire. He had I don't know, some of you are probably too young to know Fred Astaire. If you are, go on YouTube. He's the most amazing dancer you'll ever see. And so he went to RCA, that was like the old broadcasting system. And the executive there, after observing him, said, well, he can't sing, he can't act, but he can dance a little bit. Well, he was a prolific movie star, and he won many, many awards for his dancing, and he did not listen to those comments, and he kept moving forward. The last person is one of my favorite people. I love Albert Einstein, and he actually, of course, he was considered a genius, and he didn't speak for 4 years, his first 4 years of his life. He was considered like he had a learning disability, and eventually he caught up. Let's just say he caught up, and he applied to Zurich Polytech and he was not admitted. They rejected Albert Einstein. And then he did not give up, and he reapplied, and he ended up graduating, of course, with his PhD in science, and he's recognized as probably one of the most renowned scientists in the world with the Nobel Peace Prize. So resilient people don't give up. And if you need inspiration, find one. Find someone in your life that you've watched. And sometimes we don't even know what people are experiencing. There's a saying about watching a swan go across the pond, it looks like it's going across so smoothly. But you don't see how hard it's working underneath the water. And that's how many resilient people are. Sometimes we compare ourselves and say, oh, that person really has it easy. Well, you don't know how much they're working. You have no idea. So that, I'm sure some people maybe look at us that way. They have no idea what we're going through. Find a role model. You know, it's not in person. Someone here at the call. There's lots of wonderful people who are available to coach. You see someone who has the kind of qualities that you want to have, then ask that person how they achieve them and follow them. Or use someone like any of those people that I just offered, or someone that you love, and use that person as a resiliency role model to keep moving forward. So thank you for listening tonight. I hope that was helpful. If anyone has any comments, they are happy to share. I'm happy to hear them. Thank you.